17 years and sort of that guiding leader, the flagship of the foundation ever since she was young. And she's still young. Who are we? We're here for good. Pam and I think we came on at the same time, or about 1 year apart. And you know, there's a whole bunch of people on the board from around the Trias area. However, I do want to bring to note that you've got a huge presence from St. Clements, invested in St. Clements on the board. So it's kind of a different time right now. We usually have equal amounts from the three communities, but we have certainly a very strong presence from St. Clements on the board right now. So around the board table, as you can see the pictures up there, that was me coming with cookies with Debbie there last year, Mayor Debbie. And
let's talk about cookies.
Yeah, but my colleague Pam is gonna talk all about those cookies. So I'm the vice chair right now. We have an amazing treasurer, Barbara Knoll, who's also from St. Clements. Huge experience from the CRA, and really brings that audit and the policy skills to the board. Something that you know, certainly she's sort of our resident expert in that field there. So there's Barbara in there in the orange shawl up on the screen. Of course, we've got Pam Seekings and Brian Chorney. You know, Pam sitting to here, she brings all the fun to the board. Let me tell you, she can organize a committee and make it fun, even when you're talking about policy there. So, great lady to work with. As well, Brian Chorney brings a nice level-headed approach. And what do you get? You get farmers, or the backbone of RM, bringing that level-headed approach to the board there. So. And I think, Shauna Curtin is our chairperson. I knew Shauna from years ago. We had history together in government. And again, talk about steady leadership. Shauna was the ADM, or Assistant Deputy Minister of Courts, in her prior life, and now she's the Secretary of the Winnipeg Police Board. So very high-level positions, good pedigree, but most important, very caring person. She's just a very open, transparent lady who wants and puts the foundation ahead of almost everything else that she does. So everything she looks at has to be a lens. We're doing things for good. So that's sort of the board members from St. Clements. You know me. I've been here many a times in different capacities. I'm fully retired now and enjoying the volunteer piece of life, whether it's the Community Foundation or the Rotary Club of Selkirk. So that's us in a nutshell. What do we got next?
We've got our donors and friends. I'm hoping that you caught the spread in the Selkirk Record this week. The foundation was published our New Beginnings report. And you might have caught an article about Lawrence Packman. This is so understated, but a man of very humble means. And he cared about literacy and the region's waterways. And his gift to his estate has now created the Lawrence Packman Estate Fund. And it makes that piece just makes me think about how all the best things I like about the foundation, and there's a lot of them, but one in particular is our donors and friends come from all walks of life. We've got Blake, who was Citizen of the Year a couple of years ago. You guys are celebrating like so hard. One of our last, was it our last one in public? Yeah. So there was lots of celebrations, and I thank you for nominating him. And just side note, Blake and I failed math 300 together, so we've been friends a long time. And we retook it with success after that.
He was so nervous that night.
I know he was. It was so good. Well, again, a long-term relationship, right? So I go to the rink and to tell him what's going on, and he's like, Deb, what do you have? Like, what is up here? I said, Blake, you're going to... I'm not sure if you're going to like what I tell you today. I had a big smile on my face, and he told me he was absolutely speechless. And I said, the next part of this, Blake, you're gonna have to stand in front of people and say a speech. And he's like dead silent. Can I not accept this? And I said, nope. Anyway, he did great. It was a real fun celebration. It just shows the grassroots of that award. And like I said, thank you for nominating him. There we've got a snapshot of more cookies. Our donors love cookies, and this was a little bit of a celebration. Kind of post-COVID, but not really, but just at the tail end of it. So we were all masked up and delivering cookies to donors that gave during Endow Manitoba Challenge Week. So there you have Brian Chorney giving a gift of cookies to Denise Campbell. Now Denise works for the Winnipeg Foundation, specifically the Endow Manitoba division, which is all of us except for Winnipeg. And she lives right here in the RM. Moved here a few years ago, built a home, and is loving it. So there we've got more cookie giving. Here's another shot. Pam heading over to her neighbors to deliver, Nancy, to deliver a little bag of goodies. And there's a face you may all recognize. Really wanted to slip that one in there. So it's obvious that the RM has lots of donors who like cookies and who love living here. And like I say, there's a face we recognize.
Yeah. So granting in the neighborhood. Well, first, we are thankful for the relationship we have with the RM because they keep us connected to current projects and possible projects coming up in the area. Most recently, click. Okay. Fellberg Community Hall and St. Hubertus Wildlife Conservation were referred to us by the RM. Bev loves site visits, so we decided to she thought, let's take the local girl, right? Well, I am directionally challenged, and thanks to Bev's keen sense of direction, we made it to where we had to. No help from me, no help from my app either. So, Fellberg is in early stages, is a wonderful little well-loved hall that is in need of an upgrade. Bev was able to give them some information for their first steps, and they're in the early stages. They're not quite ready for us. Then from there we moved on to St. Hubert's. They were further along in their project and ready for an application for the foundation. So St. Hubert's was recently granted through the Donor Advised Fund held by the RM. So we were very thankful, so thank you. The grant was to support the purchase of the Sporting Clays automatic thrower. So that was a big purchase. Then we've got the Grand Marais Recreation Center, Bingo Hall that we were able to support. We have the Broken Head Wetlands Trail. That's awesome if you've ever had the opportunity. It's a wonderful, wonderful trail. Hand in Hand Daycare. I know they're so sweet. They're a regular applicant and we love to support them. They don't have big asks, but they definitely, the heart of our future, right? The children, so we're very thankful that they continue to apply and we continue to support them when we can. We also recently granted to ESRA for the ice plant condenser. So that was also a great one. East Beach's Heritage Wing helped to support the upgrade of their touchscreens. And then I could have Hand in Hand Daycare as well. The foundation's present in East Selkirk, and we're so thankful that the RM keeps nurturing this relationship and keeps us up to date and in the know so that we can support the projects that are important to the community. So thank you. So working together, we're here for good in the area, in the neighborhood.
So one of the things, we went to an Endow Manitoba conference there just before Christmas. And it's a collection of all the different community foundations from across Manitoba. And you get together for best practices to meet one another. But one of the things that really struck me was the level of engagement with our RMs and cities, specifically here, and the lack thereof outside of the Trias area. So I tip my hat to each and every one of you, but to each and every one of the previous council that when it first started had the vision to have the funds managed by the Community Foundation. And now, you know, there's all three RMs and the City of Selkirk are fully invested into the Community Foundation, something not seen outside our district as prominently. And that was the big takeaway from me. I was thinking, everybody's sort of like this, but no, folks, we are the anomaly here, and a pretty darn good anomaly. And you'll see by some of the granting dollars that each year keeps getting a little bit better. We started off at 46,000 there a few years ago. If you can click the next one, we were 46,000. 2021.
Previous, but I can't.
Second
one from the top? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
There we go. Yeah. So 2020 to 2021, 46.8 is what we granted within the RM. Held steady for the next year at 46,153, but ballooning up to over $50,000. Again, you think of that money going into the local community, into the little daycares, into the little groups that can't afford things, into the school projects that, you know, develop diversity and culture. There's a lot of good things going along here, and it's all because of the foresight that the RM had years ago. So big kudos there, but just wanted to bring those dollars to your attention, the investment in the community.
Just on another quick note, my goal has always been the other side of the table, that community person building a playground or, you know, what have you, and to be able to apply to something like this and have that extra monies to help with the project is awesome.
So now the time is, again, you've known the foundation for years, some of you. But do you have any questions about the foundation that, you know, either Pam, myself, or Bev could answer for you, or do you feel you have a good sense of where we're at, or where we're going?
Dave, I think I'll just open it up and see if council has any questions or, you know, comments that they may want to share with you folks, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
So it consists of, the partners are St. Clements, Selkirk, St. Andrews, East St. That's it, just the three?
Just
Okay, good, thank
two
you.
RMs in the city.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything?
Just keep it coming to St. Clements.
I think we have done very well as a community and you know, putting the right names forward for those that are really needing the money. And I know that probably, and I don't know where they're at or exactly, I know they've just kind of restarted is the Levo Community Club.
Yes, I have heard from them twice now. I haven't really connected deeply with them, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Brenna, who is sitting quietly in the back there, is working with them, but they've elected a new board, and it seems that they're trying to get things off the ground, like they're having a Valentine's Day dance for the kids, and they're having all kinds of small activities, and I think there is actually something on our agenda, their newsletter and things like that, so that might be another one that's probably going to be coming forward in the not too distant future.
I know where they are.
Day trip.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Councilor Boulanger.
Just to further on the question I had, and I'm sure we have we reached out to East St. Paul and West St. Paul? It says districts, so I mean, they're part of our district. Have there been no interest? Has there been no interest from them?
You know, I've kind of knocked on their door a couple of times. And you have to, right from the get-go, have a deep knowledge or good understanding of what endowment is. And not quite ready yet.
Okay.
In our constitution, it identifies those three partners too. So it's kind of our grounding catchment. Doesn't mean constitutions can't be altered, but you kind of gotta maybe have that.
Foster that a little.
Yeah. So, you know, if you reach out, but if there's not a reach back, then you say, okay, well, Right there.
I mean, it would stretch the fund more, but then that'd be more income coming in as well, right? When they're with their donations.
I would
The
hope
fund
so,
would
Rob,
grow,
yeah.
But,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
okay, good.
Yeah, yeah. Those two municipalities in particular are one of very few that are not supported through a community foundation. Like Manitoba's got 53 community foundations, which is the largest in the country. Now, there are lots of little guys, right? But those two, the two
Yep.
east and wests, do not have one. Flip side of that, they don't have any registered charities either. So it's a little bit of,
We can work on it.
yeah.
Councillor Horvitz, I think you had a
What
question.
about First Nations? Are they, would they be,
They are, with the feds, the current government now, there's a lot more open doors to have those kind of chit chats with Dawn especially.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
and Peguis is starting to be part of our RM here too. They're starting to
Yeah.
develop here too, so.
And they've got programs running in the city that we've connected, like in the city of Selkirk, sorry, that we're connecting with, even though it's not physically
Mhm.
in their space, they're operating programs under there.
And we're working with them too, more and more. We have
Yeah.
meetings with them all the time. and that's-
There has been.
It's a relationship they're trying to develop there, you know, be more integrated with what's going on in the community.
Which is a great lead to our nominating committee, and kind of on that same, more inclusive. Our next,
Yeah, so our next nominating committee is June of 2023. Now, the one anomaly for this time is there was a couple people stepped down previously to me getting on, so it's kind of, there's a little disruption in the cycle of every year having a different person come onto the board. So this year, there's going to be no new faces on the board. However, there's going to be a nominating committee, more for information's sake.
highlight package.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Some of the other things, we are on the move right now, physically. We've kind of been in cyberland for a couple of years on the COVID, but physically moving to a new space at the city of Selkirk at their CRGT building at 630 Sophia. So, in fact, Strong Arm Dave and a couple other people are going to help set it up this afternoon. So, the other things, something that I'm very impressed that the Community Foundation is really working on is succession planning. As I mentioned right at the start, Beth's been here 17 years. She's here for good, but that doesn't also mean she's here forever. She's not allowed to run away anytime while I'm here.
We make retirement look really appealing.
Yeah, exactly, they come to the meetings, and it's like the guy of fun, and then, anyway.
So, but we are actively putting together succession planning so that there's smooth transitions when and if that time ever comes. So the last thing I want is no contingency plan, and up and some big change happens, it really throws a disruption into the good flow that we have. So I'm not going to certainly let that happen. The other thing is that we're looking at adding to the foundation. Now, if you go back 26 years when the foundation first starts, it's out of a shoebox. There's one person basically doing it off the side of their desk. And 26 years later, we've transitioned from that first $40 donation to close to $16 million now. So with that responsibility, maturity of the board, we feel it's certainly time to add to the board, to grow the board, and we're looking at the creation of a community development officer to again bring more to the board, meet with more people in the community, and really allow the executive director to focus on other things. And then the other key thing I'd like to bring to your attention is vital signs. Now, this was done in 2018, as you all know, sort of a health check of the community, the greater Trias community, and it identified some priorities. We look to, because we treat it as a living document, we look to refreshing that vital signs in the next year or two to say what have we achieved as the three communities have grown, What have priorities, has any of the priorities changed? Whether it was housing seemed to be one of the big issues before, or is there a new issue that's really grown that as time progresses and things change, that maybe something new has popped up that we need to know about. So that's some of the things around the horn of what we're doing right now. And again, just to look at I like to see things 25 years from now rather than next year or the year after. Where do we want the Community Foundation to celebrate their 50th anniversary, and how do we want to do it? So we're setting it up for the future.
Okay, go ahead, Councilor Boulanger.
That vital signs report we have used immensely. That vital signs report had so much data and information in it for any governing body to look at for statistics and everything. It was amazing. If that could be, when was that? Was it 5 years ago or
18, yeah.
18?
Yeah.
2018, sorry.
Yeah.
Thinking. You know, that to be redone again, to revamp it and then look at the two and say, where have we changed? You know, that to me would be super interesting.
Yeah. And that's where we went with the thought process when we did that report, was we need a starting point of data, right? And what matters to the community, because it was heavy on the community consultation.
Yes.
Thank you. And now let's look at some comparisons.
Yes.
And you know what, and that was the other thing. The other community foundations will be doing them almost on an annual basis. And the group, the leaders at the time said, you know what, that's 1 year at a time. You know what, yeah, you can give some money to daycares, but it's not gonna change. Are you gonna see a significant change in the amount of spaces daycares have? Not in 1 year, but 5 or 6? That'd be interesting to
It's going to be
see.
next year.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Do you have anything more that you want to share?
Super happy to have been able to come before you today and just reacquaint.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's important that the foundation does have that face time with council from time to time, and to let you know that if you ever have any issues, to reach out and chat with us at any time. It's been an amazing journey so far, and I'm just thoroughly impressed coming to the board 3 years ago that the way it's been handled up until this point. So very glad to come today.
Yeah.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
As you know, there's been a big change in those two places we talked about earlier, so maybe it's a time to go there with the new group and just
Right.
reintroduce.
No, very good
Yeah.
comment, Rob,
Yeah.
thanks, yes, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'd like to thank you on behalf of council for coming in today and sharing all this information with us and leaving us the information. And the one thing that I was going to ask about was the vital signs, because I know when we first did the workshops and that, there was quite an interest, and then it kind of just didn't fall off the table, but it wasn't, which direction are we going?
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that it's going to be coming back.
Yeah. Step 1, get the community development officer. Step 2, vital signs, is kind of where we're at.
Okay, I think Deepak has a comment or a question.
Just a question, is it possible to keep the PowerPoint presentation so that we can place it as part of the public agenda for your delegation?
Absolutely.
The meeting has already been recorded, but then the presentation is available for anybody that's interested in seeing what was presented.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so thank you very much for coming in and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Now we're going to move furniture.
Come on.
Not family. Either, I get some pain.
So you're gonna be,
It's not
You're the
here,
fun
so
portion.
I'll say what you want.
okay, thanks to the supervisor. You're gonna go
Yeah, on the floor and right away.
No, it's too hot, I wanna go over it.
See you if we're just not.
No. It's gonna come down. No, I can't sit down, it's too hot.
Debbie, he's moving your chair down, so don't sit.
I know, I asked him to move it down.
No, but it looked like.
I'll let you sit on it to the board.
Not too much.
What down on the zone?
There we go. How's that?
Thank you very much.
Hello.
And nice to meet you, like in real.
Give me the other arm.
Still a little over?
I don't know.
If you want me to pause the camera.
Always a smart ass, eh?
Good now?
Yeah. Yeah, perfect, thank you, gentlemen.
It's like being with the queens. The throws.
Okay, I will just wait for Deepak to pull the agenda up again, and I think we are on to communications for action. We do have another delegation, but they are not scheduled to be here till 3 o'clock.
Yes, our next item, our next delegation has been scheduled for 3 o'clock. So our next delegation is scheduled for 3 o'clock, Madam Mayor, so we can move on to the next items and then come back to that once the delegations.
Perfect. So the first item on the agenda, 5.1, under communications for action, is our meeting, I guess it's next week in Rockwood.
Correct, Madam Mayor?
I'm not sure, I didn't have my sheet in yet, sorry Heather.
No worries. I just have you on all of it and you can tell me which turn it is, that's what you want.
Well, I will leave my name there, I'm not sure if I can get there, that's my problem. So,
We're scheduled to present.
I know, that's why I
So-
think that some of us should be there, because we were supposed to give our comments, our community update, I guess they call it, this time around, so.
Actually, in the evening.
In the evening, that's our dinner at 5, or cocktails 5:30, dinner at 6, and it's in the RM of Rockwood, and I'm not exactly, there is the name of the place is there. Councillor Corvus, would you be able to attend or no? I see your name is not on the resolution.
Yeah, if you're gonna go, I can go with you.
Well-
If you don't have a ride, I'll take you, and then if you don't present, I guess if you put something together, I can do it.
Well, see, and that's what I was thinking, if I don't go, I may want you to present as the deputy mayor if I'm not able to go, so, okay.
Either way, I'll go with you.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so if you could add David's name in there. And Glenn, I'm not sure what happened. I know at the last meeting, which was last month, I'm not sure what happened with the elections, if there was an election, or I never heard anything. So who
Yes.
is now on the board?
I'm the chairman, Angela's second chair, and Wes from, I think it's Rockwood,
Yeah, he's from Rockwood.
he's the second vice chair.
Okay, yeah, because there was nothing came out or anything like that. So go ahead, Councillor Strang.
Can I let you know by Friday?
I'll put you on the resolution.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll just include Councillor Strang as the RM is presenting. I'll put my name forward on this one.
thank you.
And I'll work with the mayor and Councilor Horpus to get that presentation.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be really long, but I guess we have to hit our highlights, kind of, what we've accomplished over the last year and kind
We've
of
got a
where we're
few.
going. Yeah, we do.
Are you doing with the PowerPoint? Or maybe a
Just a
video?
speech.
Well, that's
You could do a video.
No, he's gonna do that for me when I have to present at the library.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the videos I sent out at Christmas up with her.
Yeah, I like that one.
Okay, so if we could have the resolution for the RM meeting, please, Deepak.
Resolved, Mayor Feeblecorn, Councillor Bassarovic, Horpus, Strang, and Sutherland, and Chief Administrative Officer Deepak Joshi be authorized to attend the Association of Rural Municipalities meeting in Rockwood, Manitoba on Thursday, February 2nd, 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Corbis, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, so the next one we have is the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference 5.2, and that is in Toronto at the end of May.
Correct, Madam Mayor. A couple of things to note. What we wanted to do was to be able to get the online registrations done as quickly as possible, as well as begin to book the hotel rooms. And there is an opportunity here that there is no cost to cancellation if the cancellation happens, as I recall, before April 21st. And so, but after April 21st, it'll be a 50% refund. The only issue would be that if we did have some cancellations and if we weren't able to fill the room we would be charged for 1 day stay. What they are requesting for any cancellations after April 22nd for the 50% refund, I think they're also requesting for an identification of what the reason was. You can always substitute, so we can substitute somebody for those. But as council has discussed, we want to be able to, by mid-February, begin to book the hotel rooms so that we can get the proper hotel rooms close to the conference site.
I guess you can't cancel the airplane tickets either, then, right?
You wouldn't book them right away anyways.
We could book the airplane tickets later. It's just the registration and the hotel bookings is the critical, so that we can make sure that there's an opportunity for all council to be together and close by.
Okay,
So-
any questions or comments? I'm gonna give Helen my sheet. I put down that I will go. I am not 100% sure yet, but because of the cancellation up until April, I thought, well, I'll put my name in and we can always cancel my registration.
So my only question would be, is there any others that we would like to take a look at putting in here at this point, if you're unsure, because you do have until April 21st to change your mind.
I'll look and see.
There would be a cost of
think
a
so,
one
but-
hotel, one night stay. That's a minor cost at the end of the day to deal with the issues.
Yeah, it's only $400 for a hotel room. Right.
Well, the other thing, and I, you know, I really didn't look, and I don't know how much information was here. I didn't really look through everything, but I guess for myself, sometimes it's what's on the agenda, and it kind of makes you decide whether you really want to go or not go. Is there enough to keep you busy, and you know, what are the study tours like, and things like that.
So, we don't have the details of the study
No.
tours, but,
Pretty big.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've never been to one, so I think I'd like to try it, you know, just to see what it's all
Yeah.
about or whatever, so.
Well, and I guess I did a little bit of looking because I still am undecided whether I'm going to go or not, and I can tell you that next year it is in Calgary, so. Go ahead, Sandra.
I was gonna say with a lot of the conferences I'm finding, the agendas are not coming out, or they're coming out only so many days ahead of time before the conference. Whether it's even the local ones here in the city. I don't know if it's just everybody getting back into the in-person stuff, but you're just finding that a lot of the information is not out there when they're requiring us to submit our names.
Well, I think if we put the resolution forward, if anybody changes their mind, we can always add to the resolution, and if you choose not to go in the end, we just won't pay that registration fee.
Correct. We'll save the registration fee, and
Yeah.
if there's a cost in the hotel, I think, you know, they're somewhere around $100 for the hotel.
Well, we'll see what they are, because depending, I think, where you end up going, so.
Well, I don't have a problem if I say I'm gonna go and then I don't, and I cancel, and I gotta pay for the hotel room, that's $100. I'll pay that in my own pocket, it doesn't matter to me. Yeah.
Okay, if we have a resolution to bring forward.
Okay. Resolve Mayor Kubelkorn, Councillor Vassarowicz, Horbus, Strang, and Sutherland, and Chief Administrative Officer Deepak Joshi be authorized to attend the Association of Rural Municipalities meeting in Rockville.
You got the wrong one there.
Sorry, I did do that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I
He's
got
like,
it.
I'm not going to Toronto.
Yeah, we voted against you, David.
Resolved Mayor Kubelkorn and Councillors Vassarowicz, Horbus, Bellinger, Belanger, Strang, and Chief Administrative Officer Deepak Joshi be authorized to attend the FCM annual conference and trade show in Toronto, Ontario on May 5th to the 28th, 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Sutherland, second Councillor Vassarowicz. Any discussion, questions? Hearing and seeing none, call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, so the next one we have is the Recreation Manitoba Conference, which is 5.3 on our agenda.
Yes, Madam Mayor. And the recreation, we brought this back from the last meeting, mainly because I think we were unavailable to wanted to attend.
Right, yeah, and I'm still of the opinion that I'm not gonna go.
Okay, so then will be just Councillor Strang. So resolved, Councillor Strang be authorized to attend the Recreation Manitoba Conference in Winnipeg, Manitoba on March 13th to the 15th, 2023.
Okay, moved by Councillor Spicer, second by Councillor Horvis. Any further discussion? And, go ahead.
Just to let you know, I will not require a hotel room either,
So I'll cancel both. We have two
I
votes.
will drive you. Anyway.
Okay, and I was just gonna say, is there anybody else at this point that's interested in going to this one now?
I'm not sure if we're around or not.
Well, I guess if you decide to go, we'll just have to register you later, and you may not have a room, because they're gonna cancel them, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a mover, I have a seconder. I will call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried.
Next is the emergency management event at the,
Online.
this one is an online event. I didn't read this, I forgot it already.
Emergency management. It had something in there about, I thought it said the Manitoba Municipal Administrators.
That's who sent the information.
Oh, okay.
So the event, we can set that up on online Tuesday, and then Councillor Strang or Councillor Sutherland can attend here. If anybody else wants to attend, we can just show up if you would.
Yeah, what time is it at? I'm sorry I missed that.
12 to 1, I think.
12 to 1.
12 to 1, okay, so yeah, I may, if you're gonna do it here, I may come here to do it too. I know I've got an appointment later on that day, so.
So, resolved, Councillor Sutherland be authorized to attend the emergency management event online on Tuesday, January 31st, 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Horvis seconds. Discussion.
Same to all, or?
Here, oh, go ahead, Councillor Strang.
Might Tyler be interested in making?
He's already been, both Heather and I forwarded this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I have a mover, have a seconder. I'll call a question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, so now we're down to new and other business, number 6.1 on our agenda, Mterra curbside.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the discussion we've had with council, and the situation that exists is that Mterra, due to fuel increases and other costs, they've requested for a 10% increase in their contract for the remaining 6 months, as well as they've identified the increase to the recycling processing. As discussed with council in the past, they haven't applied any of the previous percentage increases that they were allowed to for the previous 4 years. And so at the end of the day, there isn't a significant impact as to the cost to our ratepayers or to the RM overall as to what was budgeted. So the Public Works Manager and myself are recommending that we agree to this increase and then sign the agreement.
What percentage is it? 10?
10%?
That's pretty good, actually.
Yes.
Because a lot of places are charging up to 30%.
Exactly. And so this was a very reasonable approach that they've offered us, so we put forward a proposal with a new agreement that's available for council, and it identifies the prices, and it's highlighted in there as to the agreement. We have another part of this agreement, which is the extension agreement, which is part 2, and that's just the agreement sort of lists those things as well.
Okay, I think Councillor Spicer had a question. Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for administration. So, unless I read this incorrectly, I took it as 6.1 or 6.2 either or. Because in 6.2, it doesn't look like there is more cost for the next 6 months?
There wouldn't be more cost for the remaining of the year. So this 10% increase, if we, and council passes 6.2, will continue right through to the end of the year.
So it is kind of an either or. We have
Correct.
the two options.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Go ahead, Councilor
Thank you.
Boucher.
This new agreement, it wouldn't include any changes in boundary lines yet, that's gonna come, or is this part of that?
That's the extension.
That's
We do the
right.
extension, that's
Yeah.
all.
The extensions, or this is the extension, or the
That
extension?
will deal with the extension.
The next
So 6.2, when we get to 6.2, it identifies
Okay, good, thank you.
So I'll put forward the resolution, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
Resolve council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager authorizing the CAO to enter into an agreement with Emterra for a 10% price increase for the curbside refuse and recycling pickups as of January 1st, 2023, until the end of the contract, June 30th, 2023.
Can I have a mover, please? Councilor Bazarowicz, second. Councilor Strang. Glenn, did you have a comment?
No,
You're good? Okay. Anybody else? Any questions, comments? Go ahead, Councilor Spicer.
I have to do a follow-up question here. So why would we pass this if we do the extension where there is no increase for the first 6 months? Like, I'm asking,
They've
okay,
requested,
to simplify the question, there's 2 resolutions.
correct,
So we pass the first one, and then we pass the second one, then the first one's irrelevant.
it can be irrelevant, but we needed to address the first one, just in case council decided not to pass the second one. And the first one, the situation was that we had negotiated this and we had brought this to council's attention. And what happened was I had hoped to bring this to the December 13th meeting of council before January 1st, and it didn't make it on the agenda and we missed it. So we're bringing it forward now so that we can make sure the commitment for the rest of the year deals with their request for the fuel increase cost that they've been encountering. Then once that's passed, then if council so chooses, because we can't presume if council is going to choose
Yeah,
to do the second
that's
part.
why I asked the question, just to make sure that everybody understands. Well, first I want to make sure I read it right, but I want to make sure everybody understands that even if we pass this one and then we pass the second one, then this one really isn't an increase.
It's a moot,
Yeah.
because it'll be
Okay.
addressed in the second one as well.
The 10% here that's coming in, that goes on the second part of it.
Not for
It's
this
for the
period
entire
of
year.
time.
For the, yeah, so that stays, it moves with that, then they can't have any increases thereafter.
Correct, for the rest of the year.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, I believe I had a mover and a seconder. If there are no further questions, comments, I will call a question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, so 6.2.
Okay, so now moving on to this item. So, as part of this, as you know, our special service levy finishes by the end of June, and we've had some discussions of what we're looking at is, in order to prepare for the special service levy, if we choose, which we're looking at recommending to council to go to a bylaw to collect for the remainder of the years because of the MMSM plan with the province of Manitoba to take over all recycling in 2026. So in order to facilitate that and to be able to understand the implications, we looked at how could we just increase the existing contract. Discussions were had with Emterra. They've agreed to do an extension for the remainder of the year at the same price that was agreed to for the January 1st till June. So it'll be just a 10% increase for the remainder of the year. But they're also saying, we're asking for, and so as part of this, in order to prepare us for 2026, what we felt was we could pass a bylaw, then approve an extension for possibly the 18 months with an opportunity to extend it for another year, if necessary, to take us right into 2026. Mainly because we're not sure exactly what the rollout will be with the MMSM and what the implications of that will be and whether we need to do a full tender at that time. So we felt it was appropriate to probably do an 18-month extension. And so for the 18-month extension, they've quoted us a price of 10% this year with a 10% in the following year. And what they've also agreed to is that in the contract that we could extend it for another year at no additional cost. So theoretically, if we did choose to go into use the same contract and extend it again, we wouldn't have any further increases. So we would only have a 10% increase for the next 2.5 years.
So they uploaded it at the front, and yeah, just grab.
Correct.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So theoretically, because at the end of June of 2023, the bins are paid for,
Correct.
the actual cost to a resident could go down, even though there's an increase in price here.
Correct.
And it sounds like we have quite a few bins
Leftovers.
left over,
Yes.
so we're good that way.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And so this would be a good deal, I think, at the end of the day, as well as part of this. What we asked for was to increase the boundaries and add an area. So what we've, if you'll notice the third paragraph in the report, it says the original described area has been expanded to include the boundaries described as all parcels from 59 in the west to the municipal boundary in the east, and in the south from the previous Zone 5 boundary northward to include both sides of PR 435. So that's the area that's been identified. So what this does is, as part of our extension, we'll be able to do this with no issues. So that's been included in their pricing. They've taken that into consideration. And so the only thing we will do is that we will now send out letters letting people know that it's coming and giving them the option to buy it.
Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
Originally, I think a year or two, or maybe a year ago, when the folks in this area reached out to me and I passed it on to DPAC, they did have a list of names that they garnered in their area. And I just want to make sure that that list is looked at to make sure that those people get the letter. Like,
Yes.
if we don't look at that list and know who said, I want it,
Yeah.
then
We'll be sending it to all properties outside of properties that don't have any residences in that area.
Okay.
But good point, we will do a double
refer
check.
that list, because it's easy to miss somebody who said, it's in now, and geez, I wanted it, but I wasn't given a letter kind of thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So, thank you, Madam Chair. So within the boundary, if more people sign up, we just end up paying $2.20 more or whatever.
Correct.
Are we able, or have you guys discussed, you and the contractor discussed making areas bigger? Example, like if the trailer court and or the condos or,
Cottage divisions.
yeah. some of
Those would
areas.
be further amendments to the agreement. And the advantage is that in the past, when there were a special service levy,
Yeah, that's-
another special service levy would have to be established. And so now, because we're recommending to go to a bylaw, we should be able to add the roll numbers and do
Just amend
amendments to the bylaws. And so the only thing would be that we would negotiate with the contractor. And there's opportunities to have contiguous areas or maybe even another area such as up north or further somewhere else.
Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
I was trying to find in here, there's a lot of verbiage here. I know what I'm paying was from the original. It's like $100 a year for both recycling and garbage on my tax bill. And I'm just wanting to know, I was kind of looking here to see if it showed what the new rate would be with the new contract. Is it like $110 a year now, $122 a year? Like, what did it go up by? if I get a call from someone and they say, geez, we heard the contract's done, what's the new rate now for us? Because it's gonna be different than my old rate.
We're anticipating it to be close to what the existing rate is, but we need to do that analysis.
Okay.
And then we'll have that, but we're anticipating it to be very close for anybody new signing in, because they'd have to pay for the bids.
Okay.
For existing contract, because they're not paying for the bids, we have to verify, will the rates go down or not?
Okay.
Anybody else, anything? Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
For the time being, it's still gonna come off our taxes?
For the first 6 months, it'll be off the taxes, and for the remainder of the 6 months, it would be a bill sent out separately. Our intent is one invoice per year, and then the following year, in '24, it would be one bill sent out for the garbage collection as opposed to being put on the taxes.
Yeah.
If the owners refuse to pay, then it'll be put on to the taxes the following year.
Okay, just wanted to get that clear. For the first 6 months, it's still on.
Yeah, so what
Yeah.
there'll be many people that will receive a bill on their, which would be half of what they've paid previously on their tax bill, and they'll also probably get an invoice for the remainder of the year.
Okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
Just as a thumbnail, just when letters go out to let people know what's going on, just a small reminder, a one-line paragraph saying, just so you're aware that this service will go with the property. Because I had 2 or 3 calls last year, that, it was like, the story was, my son bought a property, he didn't want garbage pickup and recycling, but he's got it, and she didn't realize that it came with the property when the property was sold. Just a reminder, because it's always nice touching those bases, then no one can say that you were reminded that your property, this service, is attached to the property, so if you ever sell, it's gonna go with the property.
Yes.
Many don't realize that.
Before we talked about this administration costs that were gonna be extra here for the billing and all this mailing out and that, is there anything in there a little bit to cover for our extra, or is it gonna involve more people, more office staff and that too?
We'll be evaluating that and comparing that to the time and effort required when the tax rolls came in, to make sure that they were all updated and everything. All those roll numbers were included, and whether the new billing system reduces or increases our time.
Because we did talk about this
Yes.
before, and we did mention that, right?
That's right.
It's
There may
gonna
be extra administrative costs.
Yeah, I mean, if it's 50 cents a thing or something, but we have to recover that cost somewhere, because we can't just keep absorbing it all, because we're short everywhere, right?
Correct, and that will be addressed as part of the bylaw.
Okay.
Okay, anything else? Do we have a resolution that has to come forward, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, and that is resolve council accept the recommendation of the Public Works Manager authorizing CAO to enter into an agreement with Antera for the extension of the refuse and recycling curbside collection for a period of 18 months from July 1st, 2023, ending December 31st, 2024.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Basil-Roberts seconds. Any further discussion, questions, comments? Go ahead,
Just
Councillor
one
Spicer.
clarification, I thought I heard incorrectly, but. So if MMSM is not ready in 2020, I guess the start of 2026, then we'd be looking at retendering for however long we think
Correct.
at that point.
Exactly. What we're anticipating is that, we haven't been able to get any firm numbers either from the province or MMSM as to how they plan to roll out or which areas will be affected first and how they plan to take it over, and that's only the recycling component. So we anticipate by the end of 2024, we'll know better and whether it's advantageous for us to extend a contract for 1 more year and just hand it over to Antera, or that we have the option as part of that is to deliver that service ourselves. That's the option that MMSM offers. So they'll take it over, or the municipality, but it requires specific guidelines to meet that 100% recycling goal.
Wow.
And so if we determine that that's too risky for the RM to meet those types of guidelines that's been established, which we don't know yet, that's why we're recommending extension. By end of next year, we should have a better idea exactly what their expectations are and how they plan to roll out.
But if we do it, are we going to have 100% of the cost covered?
Only if we meet those
Yeah.
guidelines, and that's where the critical part is.
Final question?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Within the next couple of months, we can look at getting something's gonna go out to people, like to the new people, like within the next,
Yes, in the next couple of months. for
okay,
sure.
good, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
Just wondering, as like you said, we don't have enough information, but I gather when MMSN does take this over, it'll be, I'm gonna say compulsory for every household. I don't think they'll have, I'm just wondering this, just asking
I
a
don't
question.
know. Though that's a very good point, and that's what we don't know, is part of those requirements. That if they're collecting in a particular area, what's the goal for this? And we're not even sure what the impact of that is in our transfer stations and other things, as to how that entire recycling program will roll out.
Because of their goals, I would assume that it's gonna be everybody, which is fine.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a very good point. That's something we'll learn, which may have an impact on anybody that's opted out in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else, or shall we bring the resolution forward? I think Deepak has one more.
Or I read the resolution already.
Oh, okay. Did I have a mover and a seconder,
Yeah.
Heather? Yes, okay.
But we don't have a mover and seconder.
Don't
Yeah.
have a mover and a seconder?
Yeah, you
I'm
did,
going
you said,
Massey.
Scott and Glenn.
sorry.
Okay, so any more comments, questions? Got a mover, got a seconder, call the question, all those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, 6.4 Holiday Alley, letter of support request.
6.3, Madam Mayor.
Oh, sorry, yes, I missed that one. 6.3, the Baconia Shop Lunchroom Edition.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you may recall, council members, this was approved in the past to do the upgrades to the lunchroom. After going through the various permitting issues and as well as putting this out for tender, there was only one received, and the price came in significantly higher than what we had originally budgeted for. We felt that it was also an unfair bidding process, as only one bid was received because of the timing and the middle of the year, like the middle of summer was when we went out for this. So what we're recommending is that we move forward with council's approval to go out and do the tender for the construction project. Obviously, this would be in our 2023 budget, that we need to address it as part of the budget. But once we do the tender, we can come back and identify the costs. We anticipate it'll be higher, but we don't know how much at this point.
How much was budgeted for this?
80,000 originally,
And how much did the tender come back?
100,000.
So $20,000 difference. In getting to be what everything is. Every year, it almost sounds normal. I mean, I know it's $20,000, but I mean, what if it comes back now again in the tender, and it comes back at 120? Do you go back to the guy who gave us 100 and say, hey, it's up to you? He's gonna retender again too?
He'll probably re-tender, but at least this time, we're hoping, because we're at the beginning, it was well before the spring, to be able to get some competitive bids. Looking at those competitive bids, now we can also look at coming back to council and saying, we will have to address this as part of the budget process, and then we can increase. What happened last year was we had already budgeted, and this was significantly higher than what we had budgeted as well.
Go ahead, Councillor Belanger, and then Councillor Sutherland.
Does that 80 not move forward to the following year if we didn't
Yes.
spend? Okay, all I want to know.
Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
Just have a question, maybe somebody might remember. We had always talked about a cold storage building at Baconia. All that fell by the wayside, that's been before Deepak was here. I don't know whatever happened to that, because that was in the plans for, we have a compounder, but no,
No
Storage.
building, no cold storage.
and we had brought a building in when it got bought out there, that sat there and, I don't know where it ended up. We didn't do nothing with it,
I don't
but
know where it is.
that was our plan to use it. But I'm
Use
just
that.
wondering if so, I guess in our meetings with budget and everything, I'm just wondering if does anybody recall about that?
No, but they do have a container there now too,
I don't know. I
right?
would
Yeah,
have
there's
to-
a container behind that shop there.
There is.
So maybe the container took that place of that storage. I don't know, I'm just
Yeah,
suggesting.
I just wonder. Anyway, that's kind of off topic here, just because we were talking about Waconia shop, I thought.
So to that, Madam Mayor, what I can do is report back at the next council meeting on what happened with the cold storage building and what the plan is.
Okay.
You're good? Go ahead, Councillor Bezarowicz.
Is there any pressure from workplace health and safety? Is this a time sensitive thing?
No, Public Works is comfortable moving forward as well as the managers.
So this came from workplace health and safety, that they needed ownership? No, well, why are we spending $100,000 on ownership there?
That's a good point. I'll have to verify if it did.
I thought somebody had mentioned that
I think it
before.
might have been. I think
Came from that,
Councilor Vassarowicz might be correct. I think it
Yeah.
might have been.
because otherwise, like, geez, don't we have another place to put that 100,000?
Well, there's also a need for the staff who just have nowhere to eat or.
Or they have a big building there, you can live for you.
There's not much.
Okay, so, what is the wish of council? Are we going to re-tender this addition and see where it lands, and hopefully we'll get, more than one quote? I think that was part of the issue, is there was only one quote, so, go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
I would recommend that we look at re-tendering, but also at the same time do some looking back into the files and seeing if there was any notes made on the reason why, and then we'll know.
Yeah, yeah, I think we passed
We'll
made a
report
note
back.
of it, yeah. But we can still pass the resolution for the tender, and if we find that we don't need to tender, we just don't put the tender out, correct? Correct?
Well, we could tender, and once we report back after the tender,
Yeah,
we can decide not to proceed with the tender.
yeah, okay. Okay, so if we can have the resolution.
Resolved that the Alderman St. Clements authorize the Water and Waste Coordinator to tender the construction project of a 12 by 28 addition to the existing Waconia Public Workshop to prepare a recommendation for a contract award for review by council in March of 2023, where budget for the scope of the works may be approved.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bezarowicz, second Councillor Boulanger. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, so now we have the Holiday Alley request.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. What we have is a request from Holiday Alley from Shirley Muir, and which is requested is the letter of support recommending support for their requests for the proposals and funding requests that they're making. A draft letter of support has been provided for council's review, and we're recommending approval.
Okay, questions, comments? Go ahead, Councillor Spicer.
So this is to apply for grants for the end of 2023.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Okay, let's have the resolution and move this one forward.
Resolved administration to send a letter of support on behalf of council to Holiday Alley for their grant applications to various organizations.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Horwath, Councillor Strang seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. I'm not sure if that was our delegation that had come in.
Remember they left?
Did they leave?
You can check.
Well, I know Brenda came up too, so I'm not sure.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Our delegation is here.
I'm such a big delegation too. I did have agenda item. Should I get that to you?
Sure.
Good to go?
Yes, you're good to go.
Awesome.
I'm just gonna welcome you to present to council today, and you can have a seat, Tammy.
Okay.
You don't need to stand there, so we're good that way.
All right.
And if you just, I don't know that many of the council members know who you are, so if you just want to do a little intro, and then you can go into your program.
Absolutely. My name is Tammy Thompson. I'm the program manager for the START program. The START program's been around in Selkirk Andrews and St. Clements for 20 years now. Thank you. We've just celebrated our 20th anniversary, so we're very proud of that. I've been with the program for almost all that time, 18 years. And you'll see when I talk about it that I absolutely love our program and I love what we do. And we do a lot of good in our communities. So I want to share that with you today. START, as I said, it's been around for a very long time. Do you guys have a different screen there, or I feel like I'm dividing your time here?
No, some
So-
of us are
We
looking
can
at
see
a
straight
screen at
forward.
the bottom
Perfect.
here.
Oh,
Yeah,
perfect. That's
yeah.
right. Okay. So START is both a program and a model. So as I said, when START began 20 years ago, we were just a program here in Selkirk. It originated here, it was built here. The original people who were on the board were the RCMP, Probation Services, Child and Family Services, and the Lord Selkirk School Division. And they felt that they were probably working with the same clientele and perhaps not always having a lot of success. So they thought they could be more successful if they worked collaboratively and worked together. Now, as you can understand, these are pre-fee and FIFA days, so it was probably a little bit easier to all come together to one table and to have conversations and discussions. But they tried it out and it worked. A family that they were all struggling with was really able to see some really big gains in their life for them and for their children. So START was born out of that. And that need to work collaboratively. So that really is what we're about. Since that time, we've become a model as well, because we have had other communities approach us and wanted to duplicate what we do. And that's usually people who have been here in Selkirk for whatever position, transferred somewhere else and went, why don't we have START over here? So we've actually grown as a model too, and I'll show you a little bit more about that after. START is what would now be called a community mobilization model. In the past, we've been called wraparound, or we like the term multi-agency collaborative model. But what it means is that instead of all of the groups and agencies working in their silos, working separately, we come together through START, because we are consent-based, and we work together. So that is really what community mobilization is all about. We are a client-centered information sharing protocol. So every organization has their little piece of information, and if they're in their silo, they're not sharing it. And that is not particularly helpful, especially when you're working with the clientele that we are, people who have multiple challenges and issues in their lives. It's not usually just, you know, my kid's not doing great at school. It's my kid's not doing great at school, they're on drugs, and dad's incarcerated. You know, there's a lot going on for the clients that get referred to us. We're a very inclusive program. The format that we take allows us to include supports that are important from a cultural perspective, from a family perspective, that's important to that particular client. So every team looks different, and it's the team that fits that client and that particular situation. So that makes us a very individualized program. We really, professionalism is so important to us. As you could probably understand, we have some very intimate information about people.
very confidential information about people, about their worst moments in their lives. And so it's very important for us that the information that we're working with is done in a way that makes them feel comfortable, makes our communities feel comfortable, so that people will work with us. We also come from a very positive perspective. We work with a lot of really difficult situations. We always want to make sure we're doing it in a positive way. We can deal with difficult things and still be positive. So that is where we're coming from. And our ultimate goal is a reduction of risk for our clients, the families we work with, and for the communities that we work in. So the START program has changed a lot over the years, especially over the last 5 or 6 years. The youth program was what we had for about 16 years. And then Restart came along, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how that happened. Start Families is new to us this year. And we also do something called short-term consults. And I'm going to tell you all about this stuff, but this is how the START program looks today. So, and these are the other areas that use START model programs. So our little homegrown program has grown throughout Manitoba. So in Selkirk, Steinbach, Dauphin, and Kinley in different formats. So talking about START Youth first. So we work with youth up to the age of 21 in that program. And when we look at the 18 to 21 range, those are kids who are working at a lower cognitive level and still eligible to be in school during that time, so they will still fall within our youth programming. Now, this is what it would look like typically for someone who was struggling in multiple areas of their lives. They're going to have to connect with all sorts of different agencies. Those agencies are not going to be connecting with each other. And what START does is that we bring everybody together. We ensure that everybody's communicating, and we are doing it collectively, and we are also advocating. So with START right in there, like I say, being consent-based, we are able to be an advocate for our clients. We're able to be that non-judgmental, not attached to any agency, but still attached to all the agencies kind of organization, right? We're not a threat. We're not going to take your kids away. We're not going to arrest you. We're not going to do any of those things. We are going to help you not have those things happen. So that is our role. So START works by having a coordinator as a case manager. So every client who is accepted into one of our programs has a specific coordinator assigned to them, and they case manage the situations. So they are going to be the go-between with all of the other agencies that they're working with. That doesn't mean that they don't still have to work with those agencies. If you are receiving addiction services from Shared Health, you're still going to go to your meetings with Shared Health and your addictions counselor. We're just going to ensure that you're making it there, that you're getting the supports that you need, and that they're getting the information they need through the other people you're working with to actually make it worth your while, make it worth their while, and help you progress. START works because collaborations are powerful. We get more done when we work together. The example I like to use is that every agency has a piece of the puzzle in regards to someone's life that they're working with, but you do not know what that whole puzzle looks like until you sit down together and put the puzzle together. I remember years ago going to Selkirk Junior High, and the principal had asked me to come down there because he had a real concern about a youth who was not going to school, and on a regular basis, was coming but wasn't coming on a specific day of the week or a couple different days of the week, just was not doing well. When we got the team together, we found out that he wasn't coming to school on Tuesday specifically because Tuesday is food bank day. Dad's incarcerated, mom has other children, little ones, so he was staying home to look after the kids while mom was. There's a simple solution to that. We were able to work through that so that he could be at school on Monday or on Tuesdays. But the principal then said, I have no idea. If I would have known, I would not have worried about Tuesday. No, it wasn't that big. So when we work together, we have way more information, and we can help people, truly help people in the ways that they need. We truly include the client and the family in the process. This isn't a bunch of service providers sitting at a table and making decisions about our clients. It doesn't work that way. Our clients are there with us. Youth at times can't be. Sometimes we're working with children who
have had severe trauma in their life, and things that they cannot sit and listen to the solution of. We always include them in some way. We meet with them before, we meet with them after, we ask them what they need out of this, and our goal is to eventually get them there to the table. And I tell you, one of the most beautiful things about working with the youth in this program is when they come to the table and they go, I need this and this and this from these adults in the room that they were scared of at one point in time. So it really is a beautiful thing and a beautiful process. We need them there. We're talking about their lives, right? We're there to assist them. You know, we're not there to tell them what to do. So therefore, we do not judge. Everybody has bad moments in their lives, some worse than others. So they come to the table and they will not be judged at us at our table. We don't allow that there. We have all the client's information in one place. That is really, in a lot of cases, been important. We are located in the RCMP detachment. So at times we have people who come in and are unable to speak for themselves, whether it's intoxication or mental health or whatever. We already have the information. We know what medication they should be on. We know who their social worker is. We know who the police should be contacting. So we become a resource that can get things back on track a lot more quickly. Often we are in the back in the cells area meeting with people, either clients we're already working with, but most often clients that are being referred to us because they've come into cells. So we have a really collaborative relationship with the RCMP in that way. We're on top of issues a lot faster through START. We meet on a monthly basis as a team, but we communicate regularly. If we have a youth client who hasn't attended school for a few days, the schools are calling us when your client hasn't been here, what's going on? And we're trying to figure out what actually is going on. So really quick turnaround. We're not finding out about it after it's already ingrained and then harder to change. We can pool our resources. A really good example of this is around psychological assessments. Psychological assessments are really expensive. A lot of government departments don't like to pay for them. Schools can't afford to pay for them. But if you're in the justice system, you can get them paid for a lot more easily. So Justice can request the assessment, everybody else at the table can utilize the assessment, and we can help the person in the way we want. Interestingly enough, we've had a lot of situations, especially for youth, where we find out through doing that a youth doesn't actually have the cognitive level to be in a regular classroom setting. So then you wonder why they don't want to be at school. Well, they don't understand it. They don't feel good being there. So that kind of information is really important. Everyone's on the same page. We all are working towards the same goals collectively as organizations, as families, and as clients. And we're able to build really strong relationships between our clients and the agencies and communities. We've had a lot of times, especially, and I hate to pick on them, but with Child and Family Services and RCMP get to be the bad guys in situations. So we have people who would not sit in a room with their CFS worker, who then, thank you so much, who then will engage with their CFS worker because they see them in a different light and working with START and in a more positive environment. And we provide accountability for everybody who's at the table. All of us have had that experience where we've had too much on our desk and something falls off the side. We're the squeaky wheel for our clients, for the people who need it the most within our community. We make sure that they are getting what they need when they need it. And START belongs to everybody, and I love that about START. We have a wide variety of agencies that sit on our steering committee. We have a wide variety of funders, and that just really creates a community in START. Like we truly, everyone is START, and I love that about the program. So, in working with youth, we had the opportunity, we've had 2 assessments done, one quantitative and one qualitative. In 2017, we had a qualitative assessment done through the RCMP, and we were looking at the effects START has on youth who have cognitive deficiencies, FASD, or mental health issues. That's a really challenging thing to look at, especially when you're looking for numbers to compare to. So we were able to utilize the RCMP database in doing this. And we were able to match on a whole bunch of stuff, things like size of community and the type of crime, sex, and age of people and things like that. The one thing, or the things that we couldn't match on was whether somebody had mental health, FASD, or low cognition, because that's not in the RCMP database. So essentially, going into this assessment, the person doing the assessment said, this may not work out well for you guys because you're probably comparing your clients who have all these challenges to people who do not. But that's what we did. And it said the START program by definition takes some of the most serious young offenders in Selkirk. As such, reinvolvement rates were expected to be higher than desirable, but actually what happened was we actually got 50%. Still, even not playing on a level playing field, they were able to prove that we can reduce recidivism by 50%. So we like that. And in those who did reoffend, the rate of reoffending was reduced by 3.5 times. So some really, really significant things from a justice perspective there. And they went on to say that we're successful in reducing recidivism rates for youth, even if they have low rates of family support, which, you know, I was reminded of this just this week, because we had a situation where we closed a youth client who's doing so well, but the coordinator said to me, she goes, certainly wasn't because of their parents' effort. It was the youth's effort, and just having this team of people who are willing to support them, even when their family couldn't or wouldn't. We still had a lot of success with youth. And overall, both the number of new charges and recidivism rate were significantly reduced among our clients. So it was this evaluation that led the provincial government to approach us and asked us to expand our program. So that is where Restart came along. And Restart is the same program, but for adults. A few differences, same thing, coordinated interagency planning, 18 plus. It started out as 18 to 29, but we were able to talk them into letting us take adults of any age because we were starting to get, actually, especially seniors referred to us who were having a lot of challenges in their lives. So they agreed to that. So it's 18 plus now, residing in our area. And anybody can refer to that. So sometimes we have people who refer friends, which I think is great, especially when it's youth. When you have a kid that says to their friend, hey, this really worked for me, I think that's awesome. But so outcomes for Restart so far, we look at 3 different areas: reducing the burden on the justice system, expanding employability, and reducing risk factors. So as you can see, I won't read them all out to you. As you can see there, some really significant numbers there. The one that was challenging in this year was the enhancing employability, and that was during COVID. The year prior, we actually saw much higher numbers in that area as well. So yes, lots of fun stuff. I do have some year-end reports that I'll pass on to you too that will help with these numbers. And then that, sorry, if I can go backwards here, led to Start Families. So Child and Family Services approached us late last year, year before I guess now, and wanted us to create a program which we're calling Start Families. And what Start Families is it takes the Safe and Together model, which is what the General Authority of CFS is using now for domestic violence perpetrators, and combine it with what we're doing at Start. So that's what we did. So Start Families works with the adult perpetrators of domestic violence, combines our model of Safe and Together, and works with all forms of domestic violence. So including physical, sexual, emotional, spiritual, financial, cultural, and coercive control. So you don't actually have to have a physical assault to qualify for this program. Because there's lots of stuff that happens either before that physical assault happens, or it never ever gets to a physical assault, but it's still abusive. So we will take any form of domestic violence, and what we've created is a 2-phase program. So the first part of the program focuses on ending the abusive behaviors. So we're not doing the Start stuff, we're not building a team, we're doing the therapy piece at that point. We are looking specifically at what they're doing and how that affects their family. And what Safe and Together does and why it's successful is it takes it away from that you need to go to anger management concept to you need to really see how this affects especially your children. How does your child see you hit your partner reflect on their life? What does that do with them? And there's been really great success looking at it from that perspective. So promotes a shift towards creating stability, healing, and healthy families, and making them responsible for their own behaviors. So that's the first part of it. Once we move them through what we call the stages of change, so a lot of the people will come to us pre-contemplative, especially if they've just been charged or something like that for domestic violence. Yeah, I didn't do it, or whatever. Or we get people who are in preparation, and those are typically people who refer themselves. Say, you know, I did something yesterday that kind of scared me. I think I need some help. So those are kind of where we see people come into the program, but we need to move them forward to that, you know, able to take responsibility for their actions, able to put that in action, and to keep that going for a while. Once we get through that, we move to phase 2, which is the START model. So there could be lots of other stuff happening with them. They could have substance use issues. They could have homelessness issues, especially if they're not allowed to stay there and at home anymore. We want to make sure that we're focusing on the behavior first. People will often say, well, I do something like that because I drink, or I do something like that because I have mental health issues. But the reality is there's people who have mental health issues and drink who do not commit domestic assault, right, or domestic violence. So we're looking at it as a separate thing for this. But then after they get into the maintenance stage, we're going back to START, and we're looking at all that other stuff, and we're going to support them until they're at a point in their life and they'll be able to reach their goals to be successful. And what we found is that we have, we've already got some families that were torn apart that are back together again. And we've only been running fully accepting finance for about 6 months in this program, so it's good. Yeah, and we create accountability in START families by accessing information. So we have access to RCMP information because they're involved with Child and Family Services. We have access to their information. We actually do work with the victim of domestic violence so that we can understand if it isn't just, yeah, I'm doing better. It's, we have to be able to see for sure that you're doing better. It's taking it a little bit further than other programming does. And then we have our short-term consults, which is also newer, about 2 years. We've been doing this with the RCMP because we have found that a lot of people come through the door of the RCMP, and we've been able to build that relationship with being in the building for so long that, you know, there are people who may not ever become a START Youth, a Restart, or a Families client, but just need that little bit extra help. So we take direct referrals from the RCMP, and we've had 207 since July 2020, which is a lot of work to take on, but it's good because sometimes people just need to understand that they're not a bad person because they've gotten arrested. You know, and it may seem like a strange thing to say, but when I reach out to people, so often they'll say, the police asked you to reach out to me? Like, they want to help me? Like, I don't understand that. It's like, yeah, that's actually what we're about. You know, we're counselors and social workers. There's something that led to that incident that brought you here. Let's see if we can deal with that so that you don't come back. And I find the reception for that is really quite overwhelming for them. So yeah, we've been doing a lot of that too. So that is how START has grown. We're a very busy organization. Sorry, I'm not sure where I am. I just jumped past something, and I'm not sure if I can get that.
Previous, it just popped up there for a sec.
Oh well. Now I'm really going everywhere, aren't I?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. How many do I have to do that? Nope, I'm going backwards again. Oh, there we go. You can't even see that.
Second.
Previous is the second
There
from
it
the
is.
top.
I'm gonna get there. Okay, so this is where I was. So this was our last, our semi-annual statistical gathering. We do a really comprehensive one annually, and then semi-annually we do a smaller one. But in that time, we have had a lot of referrals to our program. I'm just trying to see what page I'm on. I did have some updated referrals I pulled for you as well. So, no, I don't think I did go back as far as I went. Yeah, I really shouldn't have this. Okay, this is where it's, okay, where are our clients from? So, I know that's always of interest to our RMs in the city of Selkirk. Where are our clients coming from? So I have a little bit of a breakdown here, but just to generalize it, updated at September 30th, 69% of our clients come from the city of Selkirk. In this category, 10%, that was as September 30th was 10% for St. Clements. It's actually gone up to 12% now. And the city of Selkirk was 69, it's now 70. St. Andrews was 20 and now down to 11. So those are the three major ones there. What is not really focused in here is we had a massive intake of short-term consults for the RCMP. And so between September and now, our short-term consults were 27% of them were from the RM of St. Clements. 20% from St. Andrews and only 53% from St. Andrews. So you see how the numbers kind of adjust depending on where they're coming from. Currently, when we're looking at our funding, we are looking at 70% from Selkirk, because that is usually how it evens out, and 15 from St. Clements and St. Andrews. And that kind of fits with those numbers that we get year over year. But we do have these flips. And because we have new programming, it's changing a little bit, right? And what I'm seeing already is that, and I think what we've always seen is that our longer term clients tend to be more from Selkirk. Not all of them, but a little somewhat. When we do proactive programming, because we do a course called Managing Your Mood, which is a youth anger management course. And then we also do a communicating and coping with your teen or parenting course. We tend to get more from rural areas than from inside. So it kind of balances out. Okay, and then our RCMP referrals over the last little while. So our youth referrals you'll see here from October to January this year. St. Clements had quite a few more than the other areas did. And with Restart, as you were kind of second for Restart, and then you didn't have any for the Families Program during that time. So the numbers kind of shift around over time, I find. And with new programming, I'm not sure how it's going to work out. I don't even want to guess, but yeah, that is the funding structure that we have went with, and still seems to hold true, at least for now. Program activities, I think we talked a little bit about that. Case conferencing, when I'm saying we're case conferencing with clients, we are doing a lot of case conferencing. The programs change a little bit. With our youth programs, you're going to have more routine case conferences. So just, you know, in that first 6 months of the year, 151 case conferences for youth. And an additional 78 engagement meetings, Restart, you know, you're looking at 90 meetings there in total, and then the Start Families, even though it's just beginning, 125 engagement meetings. So we're like boots on the ground. We are definitely out there meeting with people an awful lot. And then we just have some stats, and I think a lot of them are somewhat featured in here, but like lots of increase in school attendance and participation in school, improved living situations, which means, you know, either youth that were in care are able to return home, or in the other direction, youth who really need to be removed from their home, or that we're helping parents by doing that parenting programming and stuff like that, so that we're able to keep kids at home. Youth participants that are kept safe through their support team. I always love that stat, because simply by sitting down together, you would be amazed at the information we learn, especially about those youth clients and what they're doing and what they're up to and how we need to keep them safe. And one of the biggest things that we've had to encounter over the last couple of years and throughout COVID has been sexual exploitation of children. It has just exploded completely. We've had lots of situations where we've had people who are already literally in the front door. They connect online, they make that meeting, and you have these perpetrators getting in houses. So it's scary, but we're really glad we're able to keep our clients safe. That's from things like that. It's also for youth that have mental health issues and maybe are suicidal have we been able to keep them safe? Or kids that are being bullied, are we able to keep them safe from that? So safety is a major part of what we're looking at. Are we connecting people to new services or more appropriate services? That's a really big thing. And again, something that was a lot more challenging during COVID, because everybody went home, and it took quite a while to figure out how to serve people. EIA is a good example of that. Immediately, they didn't really know, they shut their doors, and people didn't know how to access EIA. It was hard for us as people who've done it for a long time. So being able to work through those challenges and get people the services they need is a big part of what we do. And of course, accessing things like substance use and mental health services, and connecting to cultural programming is very, very important for our client base. We want to make sure that they have access to that. Thankfully, there's a lot more available now to connect them to than there has been in the past. And then restart, again, connecting people to services, a lot of the same things. I have those stats here, so I won't cover them. And that just leads me to the end. Actually, I do want to go back just one, because I just want to say the families is new to us, but participants with a reduction in charges since participating 100%. So 100% reduction in that domestic violence stuff. And for domestic violence situations, keeping the family safe is hugely important. And again, 100% have safety plans through the work we do with them. So anyway.
Now you can take a deep breath and have a sip of water, but I think there are a few questions, so I'm going to start with Councillor Belanger and then Councillor Sutherland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very good program. Just wondering, with the start, the restart families and short-term even, and maybe not so much with the start, but the other ones, do you have a pool of clients who you've worked with and have completely changed their lives around that you could go to help you with the interventions, that when they can sit with you at a table and say, look, I've been there, I've turned my life around, especially someone young hearing that from somebody like them? Is that something you would do or not do, or have you considered that? Because that can be a powerful source of help to somebody who sees somebody like them who made it through this wonderful program and has turned their life around completely.
Yeah. Yes, we've thought of that. Unfortunately, I have to go back to that confidentiality piece, right? To be able to bring people in and share that information, you can't really do that. We have had situations where we've had, I would say, less trained people come to the team, and there was, it actually created more issues than being helpful. But that being said, I do have former clients who I started working with at the beginning of my career who are now in the helping profession and who we do actually work with, and I love that. And they are great people on the team, and the lived experience is it.
Yeah.
Like it truly is. So we definitely look for people with lived experience.
That's wonderful. And the other thing I had was, I noticed on one of the slides, Broken Head only had one applicant or person. Would it be worthwhile doing a presentation like this to the council there, or to the school, or to the principal, to let them know that the service is available? I just found it odd that all the numbers were there and there's only one from Broken Head, and I think that it'd be worthwhile.
I have a big smile on my face because that's where I am tomorrow afternoon. But that being said, we have had times, and I think it comes with changes in leadership, where we've had tons of engagement from them, and then less engagement, and then tons of, so we're just in the last part, and that's what we're working on building up again. They've had a lot of changes with their personnel and with their council and so on and so forth over the last couple of years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Sutherland, you had.
Yeah, it's just encouraging to see, I'm looking at all these different percentage rates and the improvements that this organization is making to make people's lives better. Just don't know label it, these high percentages, you know. So you guys are doing just a great job.
It's working together, really. It's just
Yeah,
all this
well, you're doing
collaboration
something
that does
right,
it.
because
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor Horbis.
Yeah, great work. How large is your staff?
We have 6. We have 4 full-time, 1.6, and 1 casual clerk. And she's the one who keeps us in line.
And your funding comes from?
Our funding is broad, and I think that's a great thing. we struggled for funding for a very long time, and I have to say, the Arm of St. Clements, you guys have been in here with us for a very, very long time, and we appreciate that so much. But we now have more stable funding, which is great for the program. So our funders right now are Manitoba Justice, Child and Family Services, Victim Services, the RCMP, the Lord Selkirk School Division, and then the City of Selkirk and the two arms.
Nothing from the province?
Like through Manitoba Justice and CFS, that's all provincial funding, yeah, and Victim Services.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Councillor Strang, and then Councillor Bazarowicz.
I noticed the youth program starts from 11 and up. Is there something that's for younger also?
Well, that's a great question. On the books, there is in Manitoba a program called Turnabout that is out of Winnipeg and out of Thompson is supposed to serve rurally. So that's why we say 11 and up. We do have an exception within our policy manual that we can take as young as our steering committee approves as well. So the youngest client we've had is 6.
Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
Yeah, again, wonderful program. Just wondering, how long has the Restart program been going?
Restart is 4.5 years old now.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I wasn't really familiar with it.
No, not familiar with Restart, yeah. I haven't been back here in a long time to talk to you guys, so, yeah.
Great.
And I just have a comment because I went to your, I guess it was your anniversary, and I was really taken aback by all the great work you folks do, and you know, the people involved and the services that are provided to help families stay together and things like that. Like, I was really, really impressed because I didn't know all that much about the program before I went to the event, so it was really an eye-opener for me, to be totally honest, so.
Well, I'm glad you were able to join us.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Go ahead, Deepak.
Just a question about your presentation. Would you allow us to copy it and post it on our agenda as your delegation of the public agenda?
Absolutely.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, well, I'd like to thank you on behalf of council very much for coming in today. Great information and all those sorts of things, and hopefully everything will go well in the upcoming year, and best of luck with all the programs that you have.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for your continued support for our program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're going to take a 5-minute break. Heather, you want to stop the recording, please?